Welcome to this Taoist meditation session. The meditations I'm going to be presenting come from Taoism. You might be wondering why I'm talking about all sorts of things before doing the meditation. It is to give you a context and understanding why you're doing it so it can have a much better effect for you. Just sit straight, let your mind get quiet, go on to the meditation. The internal pressures of people who are going to be sequestered in their houses or running around town with their minds, because you can't get rid of your mind. I mean, really. You can decide to cut your fingernails, but you can't really cut parts of your brain out. It's just not really doable, even if you'd like to. Is that something I predicted at the beginning of this, in the beginning of February, is that I said that when we have 50,000 people dying, that's when there's a very good chance people are really going to start going crazy. And let's just hope that it doesn't manifest in all sorts of very nasty external behavior. And I would bring up a couple of examples. And I'm on the extra meditation this week right now. That you can see this. You can, when they look at this, when they look at the people who have gone crazy and gotten a gun and started shooting at schools, or from buildings shooting at the people below. There's a big thing with that in Vegas a couple of years ago. That what was happening is that internal pressure was building up inside these people. And there are lots of ways in which people release internal pressure. Okay? Historically, they would go out and get drunk. And I have to say that if you're being locked in a house and there are other people, that's not a really great idea. And if you started doing that on a regular basis, you really would not want to come out of this coronavirus being an alcoholic. But another thing that happens is that as the pressure builds and builds, just as when stress builds and builds among people, then they start either going into a near state of catatonia and disconnecting from everything, sitting down, staring in the air with blank looks in their eyes. Or, if it goes worse, they start getting more and more angry. And then they start yelling and picking fights with people all the time. And verbal fights. Okay? And then, if it goes a lot worse, then they start getting physical. And that can be a problem because the smallest thing. No, I'm sorry. Chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla ice cream. And how dare you say chocolate ice cream is better? Next thing you know, they're pounding on the person. 2 days ago, I'm watching the news, and I see a person who's in charge in the United Nations to do with domestic violence. Now, everybody knows, and I hope you're not one of them, and if you are, I hope you're going to do everything you can to stop it, to figure out what's in you. But, hey, it's not just that husbands beat up wives. In many houses, which is a thing that's known in police statistics, wives beat up husbands. You know, sometimes the husband's very in, the wife isn't, but the wife could beat up the husband verbally or physically. And it does happen physically. And then when the wife does things, or the husband can't take what they do, the husband beats up the wife. And it even happens with people who have large teenage kids. There are kids who beat their parents up. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to be super common, but it's out there. See, we have to look at something. I think this is a major problem. I mean, it's a pretty big thing when the United Nations comes out and starts saying this. But it's also now some U.S. broadcasters and some public health officials are mentioning it, but they're trying to say it without saying it very much. The guy from the UN was saying it really right up front. He says, like, make sure you're registered with the police so if something happens, you can call. Make sure you talk to your neighbors next to you, that if they hear things that seem to be escalating into violence, they call the police, because you may not be able to. What? You're picking up that phone, what are you doing? And next thing you know, they're pounding on you. And they're recommending all sorts of the standard things. Oh, we need to make more battered people shelters. What do you do if it's happening? And I'm sorry, you only got your one place to live, and and all of this, and they're coming on about it. So let's look at this a little bit. In many countries of the world, when you start getting the external situation getting really terrible and bringing up very powerful emotions in people, people expressing those emotions either verbally or physically is on the rise. Now, if it's verbally, this sort of pressure could ruin a lot of relations. If this goes on enough, it's very well known that when parents just are always yelling and screaming and doing this at each other, that's why a lot of kids are glad they got divorced or wish they would. Because it's ruining the life of the kids and it's conditioning them to being a mental mess their whole life. And if you really got the parents and you could calm them down for a few, we don't want to do that to our kids. And then 5 minutes later, they're doing it to their kids. So pressure, stress creates these reactions. And if you think you're prone to this, you want to try and make the heat in your mind come down. It's like the thing people do when they're in something that's many positions, work, well, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, you see, it's not quite that easy. A kid can't walk out of his own home. And a lot of times a wife who tries to, she better make a really clean break, because if she walks back into that house again, the husband's going to pound on her. And there are husbands who get pounded by their wives. And there are husbands, if now anybody is verbally and emotionally dumping on them, how much can that person take before they just snap? Or else they accrue some sort of mental disturbance that lasts for them their whole lives. Which, if you would ask the kids, do you really want to hurt your parents? They'd say no. But catch them in a moment when they're really flipping out, you better believe it. I'd be more than happy to hurt them. Or the wife, would you be happy to hurt your kids? No, I wouldn't. And this is when, children get boiling water poured on them, or they get beaten, or again, this is all because an incredible amount of stress builds up in the body and the mind. And the individual who has it doesn't know what to do with it. So one of the ways they express it is violence. Physical, mental, emotional, whatever, some kind. So I want you now to go back to the meditation we did the last time and just start going, if you think you have these tendencies, start going from the top of your head, start penetrating as deep in your body as you can, and stay at each height level inside you for a little while. Now, if it feels just, like things are floating or you're not getting any particularly whatever, that's where your mood's at, then that's great. And if you're feeling that it's making you feel you have the beginnings of a happy mood, by all means, increase it if you can. But if you start feeling that it's going dark, but are the nice things in you, are they taking ascendance? Great, let it ascend. But if the nasty stuff is coming on, look at it. Just start to recognize that mood. And then slowly going down your body, go down to your nose. Because before most people are going to flip out and start beating someone or excessively or abusing them, let's just use the word abuse, whatever form it comes in. That feeling that I want to abuse somebody is going to start rising inside of you. It will. You know? It rose. I right now am in Boulder, Colorado. 20-minute car ride from here is a place called, I think it's 20 minutes, it's called Columbine. I know because I have a relative who lives there. And, some kids, from all this pressure building up with them, they say it was from all their internet stuff, but it doesn't matter what the cause is. One day they come in, they start shooting everybody in the school. Another guy's having pressure building up in him, and he gets on a window in Las Vegas, has a gun with a hell of a lot of ammunition, just starts shooting at people. They were expressing this mood. Now, Madonna had a great song, Once Upon a Time, which may be too long for some of you who are younger, but, Express Yourself, which I have to admit was a great little tune, and she did a great dance to it. But that's fine. If you're expressing yourself and she was saying, express your happiness. Well, what you really want to do is you want to express your maliciousness. At least feel inside your body and recognize what that feeling is. So that then you at least have a choice of, well, this thing is pushing me toward it, and try and think about something different. Try and do something that will take you out of that mood. Or if nothing else, sit and bear the mood, but do your best to decide, I'm not going to give in to it and act on it. So that this way, there's not going to be a lot of problems. That mood, the stress of the situation and what it's doing to your insides are going to cause. Now, part of the reason I'm saying this is that, well, first I saw the thing with the UN guy. And then the next one, and that's when I said, oh dear, some guy drives a train. There's a hospital ship in Los Angeles that's, supposed to, Los Angeles, they're running out of hospital beds for the virus. So, okay, so they got a ship that can hold, however many thousand patients. And it docks in. Some guy, this pressure in him, this need to express this feeling he has inside. Well, he tries to drive a train right into it. He only stops a few hundred yards from it. And, I don't know, maybe if his train had been in better shape, he would have made it all the way. I don't know. But he actually wanted to drive a train right into a hospital ship. Now, there's no way the person could know if he does that, that is going to cause untold misery to untold people. But no. He needed to express it. But you know something? He may not even have been aware of that's what was going on. This pressure could be happening below the surface level of his conscious mind. And what was really pushing it, well, that's what you want to go inside and go down and just recognize what's inside of you. So you don't do something silly like that. And I doubt you're going to try and, drive a train into something. But, you could get excessively abusive to people in your house. It doesn't have to happen. And what happens when the death toll starts rising up to 10,000 and 15,000 and 25,000 and more? Then people, that want of a pressure release valve is going to be inside a lot of people. Well, if you're hearing this, recognize this could be you. It's also that recognize if you're feeling this pressure inside yourself, that pressure is going to make it very easy. Now keep going down. Go past your neck, down your chest. Just recognize what's in you. slowly going down to your diaphragm. That if you just can recognize you got this going with you, that's great. And if you get a little bit of awareness in what this pressure is like, because you recognize it inside yourself, you recognize it inside somebody else, maybe you can just do whatever you can to try and help them release some of that pressure in a way that doesn't cause any harm. And it's not just to stop them from doing really horrible stuff. It's also to help your fellow human being, because that pressure inside them is making them unhappy campers. God knows what it's causing to go flying around their head. It's making them miserable. And if you care about that person at all, then it's a good thing if you can reduce it. If they're just somebody you're with, happen to be together with, then, and you actually don't care about them. It's not to say everybody loves everybody or everybody even cares about everybody. At least try and reduce their pressure a bit, because you really would not want that pressure coming towards you in an abusive fashion. So this is something that I think is very likely to grow, that can start creating the kind of pressure why kids go into why people pick up a gun and just start shooting people, of which America's had many, many of these. And, then it's the whole, I'm not getting into the whole whether people should or should not have guns argument. But that argument always does somewhat come down to when these pressures inside people are too much and they express themselves and, hurt a lot of people. But remember, people hurt each other verbally, physically. You don't have to have a gun to pick up some heavy object and start swinging it. You don't have to have a gun to start using your fists. You don't have to have a gun to just keep on needling somebody because you just want to keep on having some way you can express this pressure. How about you just recognize you have the pressure? And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get into what you can do to release this pressure. But if you can't recognize it, you really can't release it that much. And I'm not going to be offering you cute psychological tricks, which work for some but don't for a lot. I'm going to be going to the thing of meditation about how, if you have something inside you that is really not a good thing to have inside you, how you can be rid of it. And when this stuff goes far enough, how you can get rid of childhood traumas. How you can get rid of traumas that come from war and abuse and all sorts of stuff that most people never get rid of their entire life. And which cause them to make, let's just say, to spoil the atmosphere in many cases. So now keep on going down lower. Get to your diaphragm. And now start going down into your belly, your sides, your spine, your kidney, your liver. And just let your mind penetrate your body and experience whatever there is to feel. No one's saying you should feel anything. You might also be surprised that if you can get that, there are times when there's really like just great feelings that are on the edge of kind of exploding inside you. And if you just recognize them, you'll let them loose. Most people would rather feel good. That is the standard idea. Or if you have feelings that are ready to explode and make you feel really bad, that you can chill them out. Don't express them so much. Don't throw gasoline on a fire. And now, go all the way down to your lower dantian. Just as later, when we go into how to become more aware of your genitals and hips and legs, you would do this if you felt this pressure was building inside you. Or you would do it generally if you think that you are prone toward having these pressures build inside you. Keep in mind, there are some people who can take an incredible amount of pressure and laugh it off with no problem. There are a lot of people who only can take a little bit of pressure before they're ready to jump out a window. The human race has this incredibly wide range of how they deal with internal pressure inside themselves. And it'd be great if you could understand what yours was, and you could learn how to handle it in a way that's good for you and good for everybody around you. So with that being said, thank you very much. And we'll see you for the next meditation next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you found this helpful. If you like this, go ahead and click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.